frankly, there just aren't a whole lot of things that I think move the needle quite like OU Texas. Cowboys 49ers doesn't even come close. Bedlam, it seems to me more to Oklahoma State than it does to Oklahoma. OU Nebraska, it can when both teams are national championship caliber, and that ain't been true since like 2000. And then we could talk about Ohio State, Michigan, which is always at the end of the year. We could talk about the return of Texas A&M, which I think is absolutely going to rate inside the state, and that a lot of SEC fans are going to get real loud real quick because they're going to see how much this matters. And then Arkansas, Texas, I think is, again, Arkansas cares more about beating Texas, hates Texas a little bit more than Arkansas likes itself. And I think that's sort of applicable to Oklahoma in the OU Texas rivalry. Now, Texas doesn't like having a rivalry with Oklahoma because you talk to most Texas fans, it's kind of beneath them. They lead the series, even if they've lost 11 of the last 15 games they played against Oklahoma. I know this part, though. Nobody wants to see their opponent do better with less than they do with more. And Texas has been king of the hill of doing the least with the most for the better part of 50 years, right? You got that run in the 60s that I've talked about, and then it kind of falls off from there. You really go just one national championship since 1981, right? 2005, you got Vince Young. You got one of the greatest college football players of all time, and then proceed to miss on quarterback after quarterback after quarterback. Squander Ricky Williams, squander Jamal Charles. Get something out of Cedric Benson, but not enough for me, right? Priest Holmes, my God, right? We keep going down the line on this, to say nothing of Roy Williams and some of the great defenders that they've had come through there. But this is also a game for which Texas ought to feel good. We've covered this, and I feel like talking about it in a different way, or the way I think most people are talking about it in the comments, is something that we should probably address less than 24 hours before kickoff at the Cotton Bowl. There are a number of people that believe that you throw the records out when you're talking about OU Texas. You throw the records out when you're talking about great rivalry games. They don't matter. You don't talk about what the composition of the team is. You don't talk about who the coaches are. You don't talk about who they beaten or how much they beaten by or how many games they lost. You say it's 0-0. It's on a neutral field. It is, we hate you. You hate us. Let's go play ball. I don't think that you can do that totally, but seeing as I really do look at the X's and O's and the analysis of the game, I don't do that as well as some others. But I think I don't do that as well as some others because I don't get to hit nobody. And because I don't get to hit nobody, I got to look at this thing like we have to look at this thing, which is we can't actually influence the game. The most we could absolutely do is yell, bad, angry things about Texas and try to hype up our own guys. The same thing, vice versa. It can kill some of us to not be on that football field, right? Because you want to influence this thing that matters so much to you that you're going to have to deal with for an entire year of your life because you have given so much of who you are and who your family is, frankly, to rooting for OU, for rooting for Texas. And if you're a neutral, you get to have fun watching us hate each other. Now, that said, people want to talk all the time about RJ, OU's your team. Ask Oklahoma fans how hard I am on OU, right? They'll be the first to tell you, I don't know, man. RJ be the first one to put his finger in the eye. That's because y'all mine. I come from this place of if you can't talk honestly about your squad, then you ain't really got a squad, right? Most good fans that I know about, they know about all the flaws of their team, and they never believe their team is good, even when everybody else around them knows for damn certain that their team is good. I'm thinking about this year's Texas fans, Ohio State fans, going down the line, Georgia fans, Alabama fans that have won national championships here in the college football playoff era. They don't tend to think that they're good until they go win a national championship, and then they'll crow about it, right? But up until then, they're probably coming at it from the standpoint of, we'll do what we got to do, and we'll see what happens in the college football playoff, right? Oklahoma does not have that luxury this year because as much as Oklahoma has showed 4-1, right? Great record, 1-1 in the SEC. It ain't showed enough offensively. And frankly, it didn't show enough defensively against Auburn to have anybody believing that you can pick this team to beat Texas this year, given what Texas has shown, because I've given you all the data for that, right? But what I haven't given you is what I thought it was interesting that Brent Venables took time to point out. And it's coming off the top rope. And it is super Brent Venables. And it's one of the reasons I believe that he is so beloved by me and others as head coach at Oklahoma. He seems to get Oklahoma fans and the state in a way that, frankly, a lot of people just don't, including some that may or may not have been head coach in the college football era. He said people's opinions and expectations about how the game is going to go doesn't decide who wins. It's execution. It's physicality. It's taking care of the ball. It's playing great situationally. It's handling the chaos of game day. Poise under pressure. Those are the things that win you this game this year will be no different. If you are an Oklahoma fan, that is exactly what you want to hear. If you're a Texas fan, it feels, what do y'all say? Glazing? Is that what y'all say in the comments? Glazing, cap? I don't know. I'm 37. I'm washed by now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't keep up with the isms and the schisms. I also went to grad school, which makes me smart about other things, makes me stupid about, what the hell is going on in the world most of the time. I am going to say, though, cope. That's the other one y'all say. Y'all so cope in the comments a lot. I'm like, what is this? What slang are we talking about? And that's when you get these old timers talking about, please stop saying these things because they don't sound right. I don't particularly care, right? Your sentiment is understood. I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, even if we can be a little snarky down there in the comments. If you're a Texas fan, what should terrify you about Oklahoma? Nothing except nastiness. I've yet to see a Texas football team get nasty with Oklahoma. I'm thinking about even perhaps a worse defensive coordinator than Mike Stoops there at the end. Alex Grinch got 9 sacks of Sam Ehlinger in one game of football, right? Oklahoma has showed up to this game nasty. Oklahoma showed up to this game needing to destroy, right? Aside from 49-0, that's basically what the game has been. And when it's come time for Texas to get back on the good foot, hand the ball to Bijan Robinson and go to work, let Quinn Ewers cook, then you get to see the offense. But I need to see the defense from Texas impose its will on Oklahoma. That ain't really something that I've seen 2023, right? And it's certainly there in 2022. But again, Oklahoma's playing without a quarterback. Like, let's be honest about that. Would I let Oklahoma off the hook for that? No. Did Oklahoma score? Absolutely not. Did not score. Zero. Zilch. I do think that's as much as the ineptitude of Oklahoma's offense as it is how good or not good Texas's defense was in 2022. 2023, better balance. This year, top 10 in both categories, right? I want to see what this Texas defense can do against a better Oklahoma offense than the one that they faced in 2022, but certainly not as good as the one that they faced in 2023. If they cover the spread, they cover the spread. But I think also this is the time for college football fans across the country to start rooting for chaos. If Texas takes an L to Oklahoma, you really do get to throw out everything else because Ohio State, Oregon is going to have a loser, meaning that only one of those teams is going to be undefeated. There's only one undefeated team left in the SEC, and that is Texas, thanks to Vanderbilt upsetting Alabama. We didn't think that was going to happen perhaps until next week when they play Tennessee, if that happens at all. And then Arkansas upset Tennessee, and then, of course, we got to see Alabama beat Georgia. In the Big Ten, Indiana feels like a matter of time. Like it's a good football program, but it's not great. Penn State feels like a matter of time. I would actually like to see Indiana play against Penn State. I don't know who would win that fight. And then Ohio State, Oregon. So there is the possibility that we could go into the college football playoff with 12 teams and nobody's undefeated, which I think would be phenomenal for the sport, phenomenal for all of us because everybody's got something to play for going into the final weeks of the game, and we're really not going to be able to say much about who did what. We're going to be comparing resumes, going to be comparing skill sets, going to be comparing injuries, going to compare all the way down the line, wins, losses, common opponents. So if you are a neutral in this, you're rooting for the chaos, and the chaos would be Oklahoma winning. If you are not a neutral in this, you understand what time it is. You understand that it's Texas's time to rise. It is time for Texas to demonstrate to the rest of college football that they can reach the potential that we know they have had for the better part of 50 years, man. They are going to pay out so much money to so many athletes over the coming 10 years, that's not even going to be funny. Like, they sent out a note earlier today saying that they're going to have to come up with about $11.6 million just to fund their 21 varsity sports. And they expect to have to raise somewhere between 22 and 30 million, dollars in name, image, and likeness money to keep the kind of athlete on campus that they want to have across all their sports, starting with the starting quarterback and on down, right? Knowing all of that, knowing that Texas alumni are going to pony up for this, What would it say if a state of 4 million people with a flagship university in Norman, Oklahoma can still whoop your